How broken is your world when shit happens? So do you feel like these moments are just little nudges you quickly shake off, or do they disrupt your peace and really cause a crisis? So if so, the question is, why you? Okay, let's agree that unless you're living in some war-torn or some third world country, that living in constant crisis is just not normal. So this state of being can really take a tremendous toll on your health and your quality of life. I mean, random shit will happen to you and people will challenge you in so many different ways, but you have to remember that nobody is really safe in that regard. And it doesn't matter what your income is. It doesn't matter whose last name you have, your political affiliation. None of those things will actually protect you. So why? Well, I mean, the simple answer is that's just life. And sometimes shit happens and people fucking suck, myself included. Sometimes I suck, right? So for those of us that live in developed nations, there really and truly is a path to better peace of mind. Now, I've known some people in the past that really and truly believe that a constantly hectic and stressful existence is quote unquote normal. And I'm doing the air quotes. I don't agree with that. So here's where I think the misconnection is, right? And when I say misconnection, I mean, this could be an instance where some people are connecting the wrong dots. I mean, and just kind of a side note, that's the whole concept of this podcast, is helping people to connect dots. So if you look at your own life, we sometimes live in our own bubbles, and it's really easy to mistakenly believe that if something is very familiar to us or it's constantly happening to us, then by that same virtue, it's happening to other people, hence it's normal. Not necessarily. So in your case, if this applies to you, and if medium to high level crises are happening to you so frequently that it just really, it really totally disrupts your days or for large chunks of time, then something is probably very wrong with your life. Like something is really afoul. And speaking for myself, there were moments in my life in the past where this was me, up and down. So don't think that you're alone or you're excluded or you're being picked on. It's not the case. It's not what I'm about. Now you have some people that think, well, hey, I got kids and I got this job and I got all these responsibilities, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. It really doesn't matter. And it shouldn't matter. Because there's lots of people with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of challenges in their life, normal challenges, and somehow they manage to lead reasonably peaceful lives. So taking all that in, let's kind of reconnect the dots and look at things for how they truly are. So you might be deeply vulnerable to unrest or frequent disruptions for one of two reasons. And number one, maybe you have a soft life management system is what I'm going to call it. You have a soft life management system. You have and when I say soft, you have maybe a really, let's say an ineffective way of aggressively doing things or handling things in your life, all right? Number two, you don't have one at all. You don't have one at all. Maybe for whatever reason you didn't think about it. And so maybe now you're in a position where you're just randomly tackling things as they come one by one, these one-offs, which can be really exhausting. So the crucial question is what kind of mindset do you need to insulate yourself and your life from these type of disruptions that just ruin your peace of mind? So here's something that I've tried that I find effective. And my recommendation to you is to treat your life as if it's its own country or it's its own kingdom. So for instance, your life, or yeah, your life, you're the leader of this nation that is called your life. How's that? So imagine that for a second. You're in a position of power and you're responsible for this big, large nation. So it's important that you really buy into that concept if you're going to use it. The benefit, having this mindset, you can position yourself to be a better caretaker and a better, let's say, developer of your own life. And instead of looking at isolated aspects of your life, now you're in a position where you're focusing on comprehensive wellness, if that makes sense. So consider this, like, as long as you're the leader, even more important, as long as you're the leader, it's important that you sit on the throne of your kingdom, nobody else. You can't have other people dictating policy on your behalf unless there's some, some special set of circumstances. But it's your life. You got to sit on the throne. So what do I mean by a throne? Well, the throne is just a metaphor for being in a state of complete control, right? So if you can manage to sit on the throne, you improve your chances of having consistent order and harmony in your, and I'm doing the air quotes again, in your nation or your kingdom. However, this is even a more important point. You must always protect the throne. All right? You must always protect the throne. Think about that for a second while I take this hot ass sweater off. Excuse me. Okay. Where was I? Always protect the throne. So, yeah, think about that for a sec. What does that mean to you, protecting your throne? How do you do that? I have a few suggestions. And some of you Game of Thrones fans may like this. So, first thing, you fight the wars that matter. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know that's actually a line from one of the characters in there. You fight the wars that matter. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to engage in activities and struggles that advance your position in life. These are things that elevate you. These are things that give you more happiness and more security. So an example, maybe you want to start a side business and transition to, a full-time business. Maybe you want to learn a new skill or a trade or improve your fitness or, I don't know, work on your romantic relationship or your relationship with your family. Like, these are things that matter. And again, these are things that advance your happiness. So what this may mean for you is you have to prioritize, or if you've never even done it, no shame there, just reprioritize what's important in your life. Figure out what's important, and then you devote resources to those things. And I think over time, the non-essential shit will reveal themselves as being less important, meaning you'll know to devote less or no time at all to those things, right? So let's just a little side note on that. Like, if you follow anything in the news or if you've traveled internationally, then you know that the leadership of every successful and developed nation, and I'm talking about, here in the US, the UK, Japan, China, Germany, whatever, they have priorities for their own development and well-being. And the way that you know what's important to them is things they're very good at and successful at. Like, if you're looking at China and Japan as being tech leaders, well, you know that this was a priority for their nation. If you look at some things in our country here in America, you know that commerce and sports are very important to the American culture, hence a priority. All right, so moving right along. What's next? What can I give you more? Well, you don't want to unnecessarily sacrifice your emotional soldiers. All right, so let me make sense of that. Think of your time and energy as emotional soldiers. You're gonna deploy your soldiers or your troops to the most critical areas in your life. So following that analogy, if you look at when two nations are at war with each other, their strategy is focused on the most crucial areas like securing the ports, power structures, communication structures, banks, so on and so forth. Look, nobody worth their salt as a military commander or a strategist is drawing up strategy to invade the city dump or a big bin of trash. There's no value. I mean, fundamentally, there's no value in trash. So why should you? Why should you devote your time and deploy your emotional soldiers on what I call like low-flying elements, like low-flying bullshit, low-flying conversation, low-flying things that do nothing to help you, right? Okay, moving along. Another thing, always stay within arm's distance of the throne. You gotta stay on the throne. And if you drift off a little bit, that's okay. We all get knocked off our game here and there. But you always wanna be in a position to quickly regain control. And if you're in arm's distance, bam, there's not a lot of ground to cover to regain control. So, I mean, a little more on that, you gotta think, the further you drift away, somebody might sneak in your seat. Somebody might sneak in your throne or sit in your throne. So what is that gonna look like if somebody else is sitting in your throne? Well, you have a situation where somebody's in your life dictating policy and pulling the strings in your life. And that person may not have your best interests at heart. If they did, then why the fuck are they sitting on your throne, right? Okay, moving along. Next thing, make yourself an attractive destination. It's no accident that when people travel from different corners of the world, they're going to the same spots. They're going to Rome, they're going to Paris, they're coming here to the US and the big cities like New York and LA. It's not an accident. These are attractive destinations for people for for a lot of different reasons. So when you look at a great country, people want to be allies with great global leaders. Why? Well, fundamentally, they have strength. They have value. They have assets. They have things to support one another, right? This is why it helps for you to work on your personal growth and development. When you do that, you draw and attract positive attention. You draw support and alliances from others. That only helps, I think, your overall position in life when you have a better quality or a more quality support base, right? Okay, moving along. Last thing, establish a rule of law. Look, this applies to you too, but it also applies to others more so. It helps, it pays for you to lead a disciplined life. And I'm talking about your diet, your finances, your discipline with your coworkers, your job, your friends, lovers. But you should also have an idea of how you will deal with people that don't respect your time and respect your boundaries. So you really have to set boundaries and expectations. But more importantly, have an idea of like what an appropriate reaction or an appropriate punishment, yes, I said punishment, what an appropriate punishment is for those that get out of hand and don't respect your time. But along with that, you also have to know when to sever relationships, when a relationship is just bad for you. And you got to put people on notice. And nobody should be exempt from this. Now, this is not to say you just go around destroying lives left and right. You want to respond and react appropriately. So, but boundaries are set for girlfriends, boyfriends, best friends, in-laws, everybody. Nobody should be exempt from that. Okay? And when that happens, you position yourself to get the highest levels of love and respect when you establish healthy boundaries. It's only normal. So what you need to do is build yourself as a person that broadcasts and commands respect. Not demanding respect, but commanding respect. Like, this reminds me of a book I once read, and I'm drawing a blank on the title, but it's a book, I think written by a samurai. And I think the author called this, it's kind of semi-related, but the author said this is a matter of winning a sword fight or winning a duel without getting your sword bloody. And I love that. What I love about that is because that embodies the notion of commanding respect to people, where you don't even have to unsheathe your sword out of its holster. You're commanding respect, and people respond accordingly. All right. Okay, that's the end. If you're wondering, all these episodes are going to be fairly, I would say fairly short, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I like to get in and get it out. I know people have short schedules, a lot of things they're doing. But having said that, if you want to reach out, our email is info@themisconnected.com. We're on Instagram. The handle is The Misconnected Podcast. Twitter is @misconnected_P. So it's @misconnectedP. If it's in your heart to be generous and donate, we're on Patreon. Just look us up on Misconnected Podcast. That's it. Be well. Have a good one. Spread the word if you want to share this to others. Thank you.